If you watched my videos on refurbishing the dashboard and steering column, you might remember that I said I'd do the steering wheel later. Well, I finally got round to it, so here we go. First, disconnect the battery. The horn button feed is live even with the ignition off, and we're going to be working in that area. Now centre the steering. That'll make it easier to put the wheel back on straight at the end. The horn button is a friction fit and it might just pull out. If not, you can lever it off with a small screwdriver, but go round it evenly and gently and be very careful not to break anything. The wheel is held in place by a big nut and lock washer. We remove that with a 3/4 inch Whitworth box spanner. You'll probably have to brace the wheel as it'll try to turn. Some people take the nut off with an old screwdriver and a hammer, but that's just brutal. Now we can remove the wheel by jiggling it from side to side and pulling hard. If it's stuck, it might fly off suddenly and smack you on the nose, so it's best to leave the nut on a few turns until you get it loose. And this wheel's pretty rough. It's badly sun-faded and it's got quite a few cracks. It's said you can fix sun fading by running a blow lamp over the surface, so we'll try that just for fun. Well, it sort of works, but the results are a bit rough, so we'll forget that idea. Now, cracks are mainly a cosmetic issue. The wheel has a steel frame inside it, so it's not going to fall apart in your hands as you're driving along. We need to fill in any cracks or chips, but we can't really get anything into the closed cracks. We'll need to open them up with a file or Dremel. We'll need to take out a reasonable amount of material, and a bit of undercut won't hurt. There are a few different choices for filling the cracks. We need something that has a bit of flexibility to bend with the wheel, and also something that'll stick really well. Some people favour 2-part epoxy fillers like Epifill, but I've always found that plain old Araldite works very well. Before you start, make sure the defects are free of any dust or fragments. I also like to wipe them out with acetone to remove any grease. Make sure you have enough ventilation. Now mix the Araldite very thoroughly. You'll quickly find that Araldite is a bit runny and will try to fall out of the cracks. You can keep it in place with strips of kitchen cling film. That'll let you see what's going on, and you can push the Araldite around a bit. Araldite cures best between 20 and 25 degrees centigrade. Your garage is probably a bit colder than that, so bring the wheel inside and put it somewhere warm, like in an airing cupboard. Once the Araldite is very thoroughly hardened, you can sand it down flat to the wheel. If there are any holes left, just repeat the process with more Araldite. When everything's done, we can sand off the whole wheel with progressively finer grades of wet and dry until it's smooth with just a fine matte surface. Now we'll give the wheel a final dust off and a wipe down with acetone. Mask off the inside of the hub with a couple of bits of cardboard and some masking tape. Remember that the brass wire on the horn push needs to make good electrical contact with the inside of the hub, so don't get any paint on here. Now it's ready for your choice of paint. That might be a simple rattle can of gloss black, or you could get your local paint shop to give it a coat of 2K and a clear top coat. If you're feeling adventurous, even a different colour, like Becca of the Passenger Seat podcast. Thanks for sending me the pictures, Becca. If you haven't already subscribed to her excellent YouTube channel, you should do that right away now. Once everything is thoroughly dry and hard, we can refit the wheel. A bit of grease on the splines is a good idea. If your steering is still centered, just put the wheel on with the spokes even. Originally, the spokes would have been upwards to make a V, but there's no reason you can't have the spokes downwards if you prefer to hold the wheel like that. Now we can fit the lock washer and nut. Don't worry if your lock washer's missing. They seem to be missing on many cars. Now make sure the wheel is pressed fully home, jiggle it a bit if it sticks, and then tighten the nut. Theoretically, it should be tightened to between 32 and 37 foot-pounds. If you don't have a suitable socket or torque wrench, don't sweat it. Just tighten it up quite firmly. It's a big nut and you're unlikely to damage the thread by over-tightening as long as you don't go crazy. Now we can refit the horn button. Find the brass earthing wire and put that side in first and then press it home. You may need to press it very firmly around the edge with your thumbs. Don't press in the middle or you might damage the logo, and resist the temptation to hit it with anything. Now we can reconnect the battery and test the horn. If it doesn't work, you've probably got paint on the horn button contact area and you'll need to take that off with a Dremel or a bit of sandpaper. Drive the car and make sure the wheel is straight. If not, just note the angle, take it off and adjust it a little bit. And finally, here's a before and after. Well, that looks fantastic. If you don't fancy doing it yourself, there are companies that will do it for you. There's a link to a good one in the video description. Thanks for watching and see you next time.